Jake Morrison walked into the biggest building he had ever seen. The walls were made of something that looked like crystal but felt warm to the touch. Above him, the ceiling stretched so high he could barely see the top. Around him, creatures from across the galaxy filled thousands of seats. Some had blue scales that shimmered in the light. Others had 6 arms and purple skin. Some floated in glass boxes filled with strange gas. All of them were staring at him. He was the last human ambassador to ever speak in this place. He knew it, and soon they would know it too. Morrison had been doing this job for 20 years. 20 years of sitting in rooms with aliens who treated humans like children. 20 years of being told that his species was too young, too violent, too stupid to join their club. 20 years of listening to lectures about how humans needed to prove themselves worthy. Today was different. Today he carried a message that would change everything. Lisa Hayes walked beside him. She was his assistant and also a captain in the Earth Defense Force. She carried a small metal box that contained the most important document in human history. The document that would end 53 years of trying to make peace with beings who never wanted peace at all. They reached the center of the huge room. Morrison stepped up to a podium made of the same crystal material as the walls. Every eye in the building was on him. Some of those eyes were bigger than his entire head. Others glowed with their own light. A few belonged to creatures that looked almost human but were covered in fur or had tails. The room fell silent. Translation machines hummed softly, getting ready to turn his words into thousands of different languages. Morrison looked around one last time. He had practiced this speech for months, but now that the moment was here, he felt calm. "I have been coming to this place for 20 years, he began. His voice carried clearly through the massive space. "I have listened to your debates. I have answered your questions. I have accepted your insults. I have been patient while you decided whether my species deserved to be treated with basic respect." A creature that looked like a walking tree rustled its leaves. This was a sign of annoyance in its species. Morrison did not care. 53 years ago, humanity discovered faster-than-light travel. We reached out to the galaxy in friendship. We offered to share our knowledge. We asked only to be treated as equals. We were told we had to wait. We were told we had to prove ourselves. We were told we were too dangerous to be trusted. A blue-scaled alien near the front made a sound like clicking. Morrison recognized him as Chancellor Krezeth of the Zephyrian Empire, one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy and one of the loudest voices against human membership in the Galactic Council. "Your species has been at war with itself for its entire recorded history," Kress said. His voice came through the translation system with a cold, mechanical tone. "You have weapons that can destroy entire planets. You have shown no capacity for the kind of peaceful cooperation that membership in this body requires." Morrison smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "You speak of weapons that can destroy planets. Tell me, Chancellor, how many planets has humanity destroyed? That is not the point. The point is exactly that. In 53 years of contact with your civilizations, humanity has not fired a single shot in anger. We have not invaded anyone. We have not enslaved anyone. We have not committed genocide. Can you say the same?" The room erupted in angry sounds. Clicking, whistling, roaring, and noises that human ears were not designed to hear. Morrison waited for them to quiet down. "The Zephyrian Empire has fought 12 wars in the last century," he continued. "The Vorton Collective has absorbed 17 smaller civilizations by force. The Ethereal Kingdom has strip-mined 43 worlds, leaving them lifeless rocks. Yet you sit here and lecture us about violence. A floating creature in a glass." Box spoke up. Its voice was like wind through leaves. "The young species must learn patience. The Galactic Order has maintained peace for thousands of years. Humanity's aggressive nature threatens that peace." "Aggressive nature," Morrison repeated. "You mean our refusal to accept second-class treatment? You mean our insistence on being treated as equals? You mean our unwillingness to bow down to your authority?" Lisa Hayes stepped forward and handed him the metal box. Morrison opened it slowly. Inside was a single sheet of paper with writing in dozens of languages. The most important piece of paper in human history. This morning, the United Earth Federation Council met in emergency session. They reviewed 53 years of peace negotiations. They reviewed your demands. They reviewed your conditions. They reviewed your timeline for possible human membership, which currently extends to the year 2847. He lifted the paper from the box. Every creature in the room leaned forward. By unanimous vote, humanity formally withdraws from all peace negotiations with the Galactic Council. We reject your authority over human space. We reject your demands for oversight of human activities. We reject your claim that we must prove ourselves worthy of basic respect. The room exploded in chaos. Creatures were shouting, clicking, roaring, and making sounds that the translation machines could not handle. Morrison waited for the noise to die down. Furthermore, he continued, humanity declares all human star systems to be off-limits too. Non-human vessels, all trade agreements are terminated. All scientific cooperation is ended. All cultural exchanges are cancelled. Effective immediately, humanity withdraws from galactic society. Chancellor Kress stood up, his blue scales turning darker with anger. Your species controls only 12 star systems. We are 10,000 civilizations with millions of worlds. You cannot survive without us. We survived for 200,000. Years without you, Morrison replied. We will do just fine. An ethereal in a golden box made a sound like laughing. This is not independence. This is suicide. You will be alone in the galaxy. No trade, no support, no protection. When you realize your mistake, do not expect us to welcome you back. Morrison placed the paper on the podium. I leave this formal declaration of human independence for your records. You will not be hearing from humanity again unless you learn to treat us with respect. He turned and walked away from the podium. Lisa Hayes followed him. Their footsteps echoed in the suddenly quiet room. Behind them, 10,000 aliens watched in shock as the human delegation left the building. None of them could imagine that in 5 years, they would be begging humanity to come back. None of them could imagine that the species they had just insulted would become the most powerful force in the galaxy. None of them could imagine that their rejection of humanity would be the biggest mistake in galactic history, but they would learn. They would all learn what they had lost when they chose pride over peace. Ben Carter stood on the bridge of the biggest warship humanity had ever built. The UES Defiance was 3 miles long and packed with weapons that no alien had ever seen before. Its black metal hull was covered in strange patterns that seemed to bend light around them. When other ships looked at it, they saw something that hurt their eyes and made them want to look away. Been 2 years since Jake Morrison walked out of the Galactic Council building. 2 years since humanity told the galaxy to leave them alone. 2 years of the most intense scientific and military development in human history. Admiral, we have a problem, said Elena Rodriguez, his second in command. She was looking at a screen filled with red dots. Each red dot was an alien warship. There were a lot of them. Carter walked over to look at the display. The red dots were arranged in attack formation just outside human space. They belonged to the Zephyrian Empire, the same blue-scaled aliens who had been the loudest voices against human membership in the Galactic Council. How many ships? Carter asked. 347, Rodriguez replied. All battle cruisers. They're demanding we open our borders for inspection, Carter almost laughed. Inspection of what? They claim we're developing illegal weapons. They say our isolation violates galactic law. They want to examine our new ships and confiscate anything they consider too dangerous. Carter did laugh this time. Galactic law. The same law that said we weren't worthy of basic membership rights. The same law that said we had to wait 800 years to be considered for full citizenship. The truth was, humanity had been very busy during their 2 years of isolation. When the galaxy rejected them, human scientists and engineers had gone to work with a fury that surprised even themselves. They had developed new types of engines that could travel faster than anything in the galaxy. They had created weapons that could tear holes in space itself. They had built ships that could appear and disappear at will. Most importantly, they had developed something the galaxy had forbidden them to research: artificial intelligence. Not just computer programs, but true thinking machines that could learn and grow and create new ideas. The galaxy had banned this research because they were afraid of what thinking machines might do. Humanity had decided that fear was exactly why they needed to pursue it. "Sir, the Zephyrian fleet commander is demanding to speak with you," said Lieutenant Roy Mitchell from the communications station. "Put him through," Carter ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the image of a blue-scaled alien in a fancy uniform. Admiral Vextar of the Zephyrian Imperial Navy was known throughout the galaxy as one of their best military commanders. He was also known for his hatred of humanity. "Admiral Carter," Vextar said through the translation system, "I am here on behalf of the Galactic Council. You will lower your defenses and allow our inspection teams to board your vessels. We have reliable intelligence that humanity is developing weapons that violate 17 different galactic treaties." Carter smiled. "Admiral Vextar, I have a question for you. What authority does the Galactic Council have over human space?" "The same authority it has always had. The authority to maintain galactic peace and prevent dangerous technologies from falling into the wrong hands." "The wrong hands," Carter repeated. "You mean human hands? Tell me, Admiral, when did humanity become a member of the Galactic Council?" Vextar's scales darkened with anger. "Your species was never granted membership because you failed to meet the requirements." "Exactly. So we are not members of your organization. We are not bound by your laws. We are not subject to your authority. Therefore, I respectfully suggest that you take your fleet and leave human space immediately." "You cannot exist outside galactic law," Vextar snarled. "No species can survive in isolation. You will submit to inspection or face the consequences." Carter's smile disappeared. "Are you threatening us, Admiral?" "I am informing you of reality. Submit now, or we will force you to submit." Carter looked around his bridge. His crew was ready. They had been preparing for this moment for months. The new ships, the new weapons, the new technologies they had developed in secret. It was time to show the galaxy what humanity had learned. "In isolation, all ships, this is Admiral Carter. We are about to conduct a field test of our new defensive systems. Target the Zephyrian fleet and prepare to demonstrate why humanity chose independence." What happened next would be talked about in military academies across the galaxy for centuries. The Zephyrian fleet, confident in their superior numbers and advanced technology, moved forward to attack. They had fought and defeated dozens of species. They had never lost a battle. They had never fought humans before. The first thing that confused them was that the human ships seemed to vanish. One moment they were there, the next moment they were gone. The Zephyrian sensors showed empty space where moments before there had been a fleet of warships. The human ships reappeared, but not where they had been. They materialized inside the Zephyrian formation, appearing between the alien vessels like ghosts made solid. The Zephyrian ships barely had time to react before the human weapons opened fire. The weapons were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of energy beams or projectiles, they fired something that looked like cracks in space itself. When these cracks hit a Zephyrian ship, the vessel simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, not damaged, but gone as if it had never been there at all. In less than an hour, the entire Zephyrian fleet was defeated. 347 ships reduced to wreckage floating in space. The survivors sent desperate messages back to their homeworlds, describing weapons that violated the known laws of physics and ships that could appear and disappear at will. "Admiral Vextar," Carter said, speaking to the badly damaged Zephyrian command ship, "I trust this demonstration has been educational. You came here to inspect our weapons. Consider yourselves inspected." Vextar's image flickered on the screen. His ship was losing power and his crew was in chaos around him. "This is impossible." No species develops this kind of technology in 2 years. You're right, Carter agreed. Most species don't. But most species don't get rejected by the galaxy and then left alone to do whatever they want. Most species don't have their entire civilization motivated by the need to prove their worth. Most species don't have the particular combination of creativity, stubbornness, and spite that humans possess. The Zephyrian Admiral's scales had turned pale with shock. The Galactic Council will not allow this. They will send more ships. They will unite the galaxy against you, Carter's smile returned. Let them try. We have 2 years of isolation to make up for. We have a lot of new toys to test. The surviving Zephyrian ships limped away from human space, carrying with them the first report of humanity's new capabilities. Within days, the news had spread across the galaxy. The species that had been rejected for being too primitive had just defeated one of the galaxy's most powerful military forces using technology that seemed impossible, but this was just the beginning. Humanity's isolation had taught them something important. When the galaxy abandons you, you learn to rely on yourself. And when you learn to rely on yourself, you become capable of things that no one else believes possible. Amy Clark stood in the war room, deep beneath the surface of the moon. The walls were covered with screens showing every part of the galaxy. Red lights blinked on most of them. Each red light meant another star system had fallen to something that should not exist. The hive mind had appeared 6 months ago from somewhere beyond the edge of the galaxy. No one knew where it came from or what it wanted. What everyone knew was that it consumed everything in its path. Entire civilizations vanished overnight. Billions of thinking beings absorbed into a single massive consciousness that grew stronger with every world it devoured. General, we're getting reports from the Kepler sector, said Lieutenant Roy Mitchell. He was one of the few officers who had been with humanity since the beginning of their isolation. The Vorton Collective is requesting emergency evacuation. Assistance. The hive mind has broken through their outer defenses. Clark looked at the tactical display. The Vorton Collective had been one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They controlled over 3,000 star systems and had a fleet of 500,000 warships. 6 months ago, they had been laughing at humanity's isolation. Now they were begging for help from anyone who would listen. What's the status of their fleet? Clark asked. 70% losses, Mitchell replied. The hive mind doesn't just destroy ships, it converts them. Every vessel they capture becomes part of their force. Every crew member becomes part of their collective consciousness. Clark studied the reports flowing in from across the galaxy. The Zephyrian Empire had lost their capital world. The Ethereal Kingdom had evacuated their core systems. The Crystal Builders had simply vanished, their entire civilization absorbed in a single day. 10,000 civilizations that had once ruled the galaxy were now running for their lives. Ma'am, we have an incoming transmission from the Galactic Emergency Council, said Captain Lisa Hayes. She had been promoted after serving as Jake Morrison's assistant during the failed peace talks. They're requesting immediate military assistance? Clark almost laughed. The Galactic Emergency Council was the same organization that had once debated whether humanity deserved basic recognition. They had spent 53 years telling humans to wait, to prove themselves, to accept their place at the bottom of the galactic hierarchy. Now they were begging for help. Put them through, Clark ordered. The main screen showed a dozen alien faces, all looking desperate. Chancellor Crest of the Zephyrian Empire looked older and more tired than Clark had ever seen him. His blue scales had lost their shine, and his eyes showed the kind of fear that came from watching your entire civilization face extinction. General. Clark, Crest began. I'm speaking on behalf of the remaining galactic civilizations. We formally request military assistance from the United Earth Federation. The hive mind has broken through our final defensive line. We estimate 6 months before they reach the core systems. Clark leaned back in her chair. Chancellor, I seem to recall your exact words about humanity. You said we were too aggressive to be trusted with advanced weapons. You said we needed to prove our worthiness through centuries of observation. Are you saying those centuries have somehow passed? The alien leader's scales darkened with what might have been shame. General, we were wrong. We underestimated your species. But pride is a luxury we can no longer afford. If the hive mind is not stopped, it will consume everything, including your isolated human systems. Tell me about this hive mind, Clark said. What exactly are we dealing with? An ethereal in a golden containment suit spoke up. It is a collective consciousness that spans multiple dimensions. Every being it absorbs becomes part of its intelligence. It learns from every species it consumes. It grows stronger with every battle it wins. How many beings has it absorbed? Clark asked. Current estimates suggest 14 trillion individual consciousnesses, replied a Vorton representative. It controls over 2 million ships and has consumed the industrial capacity of 6 major civilizations. Clark studied the tactical data. The hive mind was unlike any enemy humanity had ever faced. It was not just a military force, but a growing intelligence that became smarter and more dangerous with every victory. Traditional warfare would be useless against it. What have you tried? She asked. Everything, Crest replied. We've thrown our combined fleets at it. We've used planet-killing weapons, we've tried biological warfare, nothing works. It adapts to everything we use against it. It learns from our tactics and develops counters faster than we can develop new strategies. Clark nodded. The galaxy's problem was that they had spent thousands of years fighting each other using the same basic principles. They had perfected their existing technologies but had never developed anything truly revolutionary. They had become predictable, humanity. Was anything but predictable. What exactly are you asking for? Clark said. Full military alliance, Krezeth replied. We place all remaining galactic forces under human command. We share all our technology and resources. We follow human military doctrine and accept human leadership in this war. The room fell silent. Clark looked around at her staff. 3 years ago, these same aliens had refused to grant humanity basic membership in their council. Now they were offering to place their entire military under human command. And after the war? Clark asked. Assuming we win, what happens then? We discuss. That after we survive? Crest said. Right now, survival is the only thing that matters. Clark made her decision. Not because she felt sorry for the aliens who had rejected humanity, but because she understood the threat. The hive mind would not stop with the galaxy's other civilizations. Eventually, it would come for human space, and when it did, it would be stronger than ever. I accept your request, she said. But understand this, we do things the human way. No debates, no committees, no political interference. You wanted to see what humanity could do when we stopped trying to prove ourselves worthy. You're about to find out. The transmission ended and Clark turned to her staff. Begin Operation Prometheus. Recall all deep space reconnaissance fleets. Activate the reserve fleets. Contact the research stations and tell them we need everything they've developed in the last 3 years. Ma'am, are you sure about this? Asked Captain Hayes. We've spent 3 years building our defenses. If we leave human space to fight this war, we're taking a huge risk. Clark looked at the tactical display showing the hive mind's advance. Lisa, the galaxy rejected us because they thought we were too dangerous. They were afraid of what we might become if we were left alone. Well, we've been alone for 3 years. We've become something they never imagined. Now it's time to show them what they created when they chose to abandon peace with humanity. She turned to address the entire room. People, we're about to fight. A war that will determine the fate of every thinking being in the galaxy. The enemy has absorbed 14 trillion consciousnesses and controls 2 million ships. By all conventional measures, we should lose. She smiled, and her staff smiled back. They had spent 3 years preparing for a war that no one thought they could win. But we're not conventional. We're human. And we're about to remind the galaxy why they were afraid of us in the first place. Nick Thompson watched through the window of his command ship as the Crimson Fleet emerged from hyperspace. 200 warships appeared in the darkness of space, each one a masterpiece of human engineering. The ships moved like living things, their hulls shifting and changing shape as they adjusted to normal space. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Thompson commanded the UES Retribution, the flagship of humanity's most advanced battle group. The ship was 4 miles long and packed with weapons that the galaxy had never seen. Its hull was made of a metal that could repair itself and change its properties based on what kind of battle it was fighting. When facing energy weapons, it became reflective. When facing physical projectiles, it became harder than diamond. "Captain, all ships are reporting ready status," said Commander Kate Williams, his tactical officer. She was looking at displays that showed information flowing between the ships faster than the speed of light. The Crimson Fleet did not just fight as individual vessels. They fought as a single organism, sharing thoughts and reactions through quantum communication systems. "Where's the Zephyrian fleet?" Thompson asked. 12 light minutes ahead of us. "Sir, they're engaged with hive mind scouts. It's not going well for them." Thompson could see the distant flashes of battle through the ship's sensors. The Zephyrian fleet had once been the pride of their empire. Fast ships with powerful weapons and skilled crews who had won hundreds of battles across the galaxy. Now, they were being systematically destroyed by an enemy that learned from every shot fired and every tactic used. "Sir, we're receiving a distress call from Admiral Vexstar," reported Lieutenant Paul Reed. "His flagship is taking heavy damage. He's requesting immediate assistance." Thompson remembered Admiral Vexstar. He was the same Zephyrian commander who had demanded to inspect human ships 2 years ago. The same alien who had threatened to force humanity to submit to galactic authority. Now he was calling for help. "Put him through," Thompson ordered. The screen showed Vexstar command bridge in chaos. Sparks flew from damaged equipment, and blue-scaled crew members ran back and forth trying to repair systems faster than they were being destroyed. The Admiral himself looked exhausted and desperate. "Human vessel, this is Admiral Vexstar of the Zephyrian Defense Force. We are requesting immediate assistance. My fleet is being destroyed. The enemy adapts to our weapons faster than we can fire them." Thompson studied the alien commander. "Admiral, I seem to recall your government's position that humanity was too aggressive to be trusted with advanced military technology. Has that position changed?" Vexstar's expression was grim. "Captain, my ships are dying. My crews are being absorbed into that collective horror. Whatever our government said about your species, I am begging you. Help us." Thompson looked at his tactical display. The hive mind forces were unlike anything humanity had faced before. The ships moved in perfect coordination, sharing information instantly across their entire force. They adapted to new threats within minutes and developed counters to any weapon used against them. Traditional military tactics were useless, but humans had never been traditional. "All ships, this is Captain Thompson. We are engaging the enemy. Remember your training. Remember what makes us different. Remember what 3 years of isolation taught us. Show them what humanity learned when we stopped trying to fit in." The Crimson Fleet moved forward at speeds that should have been impossible. The ships did not travel through normal space, but through folded dimensions that let them appear anywhere they wanted to be. One moment they were 12 light minutes away from the battle. The next moment they were in the middle of the hive mind formation. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Ships that could bend space around themselves, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Weapons that fired pure mathematics, equations that rewrote the laws of physics wherever they hit. Defensive systems that turned incoming attacks into harmless light shows. But the most confusing thing about the human ships was that they did not fight like a fleet. They fought like individuals. Each ship moved independently, making decisions that seemed random but somehow worked together. The hive mind had evolved to fight against collective intelligences that thought and acted as unified groups. It had no idea how to handle an enemy that was chaotic and unpredictable. "Enemy ship approaching from starboard," Williams reported. "It's trying to ram us. Let it come," Thompson replied. "Activate the phase shifter." The hive mind vessel passed right through the Retribution as if the human ship was not there. For a moment it existed in the same space, 2 ships occupying the same coordinates without touching. Then the human ship solidified and the alien vessel exploded from the inside out. "Sir, the enemy is trying to adapt to our phase technology," Reed reported. "They're modifying their weapons to target ships in dimensional flux." "Good," Thompson said. "Let them waste time figuring out something we stopped using 5 minutes ago. Switch to gravitic manipulation. Show them what happens when you try to outthink humans." The human ships began to do things that violated everything the galaxy thought they knew about physics. They created artificial black holes that lasted for seconds before evaporating. They twisted space so that enemy shots curved back and hit the ships that fired them. They made gravity flow backwards, turning massive hive mind vessels into helpless toys floating in space. "Captain, Admiral Vexstar is requesting to speak with you again," Williams said. The Zephyrian admiral appeared on screen, but this time his expression was one of amazement rather than desperation. Behind him, his crew was staring at their sensors in disbelief. "Captain Thompson, what are those weapons? What are those ships?" "This technology is impossible." Thompson smiled. "Admiral, you spent 2 years telling us that we were too dangerous to be trusted with advanced technology. You were right. We are dangerous, but we're dangerous to your enemies, not to you." The battle continued for 6 more hours. When it was over, the entire hive mind scouting force had been destroyed. Not damaged, not defeated, but completely annihilated. 2 million enemy ships reduced to glowing particles floating in space. The Crimson Fleet had not lost a single vessel. "Sir, we're receiving transmissions from across the galaxy," Reed reported. "Word of this battle is spreading fast. Every major civilization is asking the same question." "Which is?" Thompson asked. "How did humanity develop this level of technology in just 3 years?" Thompson looked out at the stars where the hive mind's main force was still advancing toward the galaxy's core systems. This had been just a scouting force. The real battle was yet to come. "Tell them the truth," he said. "Tell them that when you abandon a species that values independence above everything else, that species learns to rely on itself. Tell them that when you force humans to prove their worth, they do not stop at meeting your standards. They exceed them by margins you cannot imagine." He turned to his crew. "Set course for the core systems. It's time to show the galaxy what 3 years of human innovation can accomplish when we stop trying to make other species comfortable with our existence." Helen Foster stood in the command center of Earth's capital, watching reports flow in from across the galaxy. The war against the hive mind had been going on for 8 months now, and humanity was winning battles that should have been impossible to win. But the cost was higher than anyone had expected. "Madam President, Admiral Carter is requesting permission to use the Prometheus device," said Colonel Greg Martinez, her chief of staff. His face was grim as he handed her the classified report. "The hive mind's main consciousness has been located. It exists in a pocket dimension accessed through the Andromeda Rift." Foster read the report carefully. The Prometheus device was humanity's most dangerous creation, a weapon that could manipulate the basic forces that held the universe together. It was the kind of technology that the Galactic Council had spent decades demanding humanity never develop. It was also the only thing that could destroy an enemy that existed partially outside normal reality. "What are our casualty reports?" she asked. 67 ships lost, 130,000 personnel, Martinez replied. "But ma'am, the enemy casualties are beyond counting. We've destroyed over 8 million hive mind vessels and freed nearly 2 trillion absorbed consciousnesses." Foster nodded. The war had revealed something that no one had expected. The hive mind was not just consuming beings from the galaxy. It was holding them prisoner inside its collective consciousness. Every person it absorbed was still alive, still thinking, but trapped in a mental prison that spanned dimensions. When human weapons destroyed parts of the hive mind, those people were set free. "What about the galactic fleets?" she asked. "They're following human battle doctrine now. Admiral Carter has reorganized their entire command structure. The results are impressive. The Zephyrian fleet destroyed a hive mind supply convoy yesterday using human tactics. The Vorton Collective has learned to use our phase technology. Even The ethereals are adapting to our chaotic fighting style. Foster almost smiled. 3 years ago, those same civilizations had refused to let humanity join their council because humans were too unpredictable. Now they were learning that unpredictability was exactly what made humans effective against an enemy that adapted to everything. "Ma'am, Admiral Carter is holding for your response," Martinez said. Foster made the hardest decision of her presidency. "Tell the Admiral that Prometheus Protocol is authorized. Tell him to end this war." The final battle took place. Not in normal space, but in the strange realm where the hive mind's core consciousness existed. Human ships, enhanced with technology that bent the laws of physics, entered a dimension where thought became reality and reality could be reshaped by will alone. Admiral Ben Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance as it passed through the dimensional gateway. Around him, reality twisted and changed. The walls of his ship became transparent, then solid, then something in between. His crew moved like they were underwater, their actions leaving trails of light in the air. "Admiral, we're detecting the core consciousness," reported Elena Rodriguez. "It's massive. The size of a small moon, but composed entirely of organized thought patterns." Carter looked at the main screen and saw something that would haunt his dreams forever. The hive mind's core was a writhing mass of stolen memories and absorbed minds. Trillions of voices crying out in mental agony, their individuality crushed under the weight of collective thought. Every person, every alien, every thinking being the hive mind had consumed was trapped inside that nightmare. "Prepare the Prometheus device," Carter ordered. The weapon powered up slowly, drawing energy from the ship's dimensional engines. It was not like other weapons. It did not fire projectiles or energy beams. Instead, it fired pure mathematical concepts that rewrote the fundamental rules of existence wherever they struck. "Sir, the hive mind is aware of us," Rodriguez reported. "It's sending defense constructs." The defense constructs were not ships or machines, but living thoughts given form. They moved through the dimensional space like angry ghosts, trying to reach the human vessels before the Prometheus device could fire. But human ships had been designed for exactly this kind of battle. They phased in and out of existence, dodged attacks that moved at the speed of thought, and returned fire with weapons that turned hostile ideas into harmless dreams. "Device is ready to fire," announced the weapons officer. Carter looked one last time at the mass of suffering consciousness that was the hive mind's core. Inside that nightmare were beings from every corner of the galaxy, people who had families, dreams, hopes for the future. All of them prisoners in a mental hell that had lasted for who knew how long. "Fire," he ordered. The Prometheus device discharged, sending a wave of pure mathematics into the heart of the hive mind. The equations spread through the collective consciousness like a virus, rewriting the mental bonds that held it together. One by one, the absorbed minds began to break free. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Across the galaxy, every hive mind ship suddenly stopped moving as the collective intelligence that controlled them collapsed. The vast network of shared thought that had made them so dangerous simply ceased to exist. Individual minds, free for the first time in months or years, found themselves alone in their own heads again. The liberation was not gentle. Trillions of beings suddenly remembered who they were, where they came from, what they had lost. The psychological shock of freedom after collective imprisonment drove many insane. Others died from the trauma of remembering their absorption. But most survived, and for the first time in the galaxy's history, death was preferable to the alternative they had escaped. When the battle was over, Carter found himself back in normal space, surrounded by the wreckage of the largest fleet in galactic history. 8 million hive mind vessels floated dead in space, their crews either fled or destroyed. The war was over. 3 months later, Jake Morrison stood once again before the Galactic Council. But this time, he was not asking for membership. He was accepting their surrender. "The galaxy owes humanity a debt that can never be repaid," said Chancellor Krezeth. His blue scales had turned gray with age and stress. "We rejected your offer of friendship. We ignored your desire for equality. We forced you into isolation. And when our arrogance nearly destroyed us all, you saved us anyway." Morrison looked. Around the great chamber, many of the seats were empty now. Entire civilizations had been consumed by the hive mind before humanity could save them. The 10,000 proud species that had once ruled the galaxy were now barely 3,000 survivors huddled together for protection. "Chancellor, humanity never wanted to rule the galaxy," Morrison said. "We wanted to be part of it. But you taught us something important during our isolation. Sometimes the greatest strength comes from being underestimated. Sometimes the best way to prove your worth is to stop trying to prove it." Crest bowed his head. "What do you want from us?" Morrison smiled. "What we always wanted: recognition, respect, and the understanding that when you abandon peace with humanity, you do not just lose our friendship. You lose the protection of the most dangerous species in the known universe." He looked around the chamber one last time. "The galaxy is under human protection now. Not because we conquered you, but because we saved you. Remember that the next time someone offers you peace and you think they are not worthy of it." Morrison turned and walked away, leaving the galaxy to contemplate the price of their arrogance. They had learned too late that humanity's greatest weapon was not their technology, or their ships, or their chaotic fighting style. It was their refusal to give up on what they believed was right. Even when the entire galaxy told them they were wrong, the species that had been deemed too primitive to deserve recognition had become the guardians of galactic civilization. And, in the end, the galaxy understood exactly what they had lost when they chose pride over peace with humanity.